I think that leadership is a choice. It's about creating a vision and being able to inspire and influence the hearts and minds of others to believe in and work towards achieving that vision. I think that leadership is hard work, and over the last 4 years, whilst doing my MBA and at work, my leadership skills have developed significantly through working with other people. Every person has different values, attitudes, beliefs, and expectations, and as a leader, one must respect and understand these differences to truly influence others.
The highly contentious issue of euthanasia raises moral, ethical, and legal questions in societies around the world. Euthanasia is the practice of intentionally ending a life in order to relieve pain and suffering. Euthanasia is categorized in three different ways: voluntary, non-voluntary, and involuntary. In non-voluntary and involuntary euthanasia, a patient either cannot or does not consent to having their life ended, whereas voluntary euthanasia is euthanasia conducted with the consent of the patient. I choose to focus on voluntary euthanasia and whether it is ethical for a terminally ill patient who is suffering physical and emotional pain, or their doctor to end the patient's life with the patient's consent.
There are many who oppose voluntary euthanasia. Some religions consider voluntary euthanasia a form of suicide or murder on the physician's behalf. They also argue that euthanasia can only be considered voluntary if a patient is mentally competent to make the decision. They argue that competence is hard to define and measure. Additionally, patients may consent to voluntary euthanasia under pressure, rather than being a financial burden to the families that choose to take their own life. There are many in society who favour voluntary euthanasia. Those that do argue that choice is a fundamental principle in a democratic society. They also argue that with some terminal illnesses, the pain and suffering that a person really feels, even with pain relievers, is incomprehensible to those who haven't gone through it. There is also the emotional pain that people need to consider. Another argument is that offering medically assisted death is compassionate. Family members and medical providers can be deeply traumatised when someone who is suffering greatly begs for relief and it can't be provided.
What if someone that you loved was suffering? Should they have the choice? What if it was you? Would you want the choice? Why should people that can't comprehend or don't know what the pain feels like have a say? With the leadership skills that I've learned in my time here, I can help to ensure that people whose voices need to be heard are heard. And I think that's the people that are terminally ill in hospital.
Say something, I'm giving up on you. Say something, I'm giving up on you. Say something.